Hi everybody, it's Ty Goodwin of Bankable Brilliance and Launchology 101, and I am so excited to be part of Office Center's Power Lunch series. And today I get to talk about one of my favorite things. Now, I'm always excited to teach, but I get especially excited when I get to teach about social media. And in fact, this is one of my most popular topics: how to go from overwhelmed to outstanding when using social media. Now, if you're like a lot of my clients, marketing is not your first native language. A lot of my clients, they cringe on the inside when they have to do marketing. And when you add social media into the mix, it gets even more terrifying. But I am here to let you know that you do not have to be overwhelmed. I'm going to tell you how to be outstanding with social media, and I've got 3 different ways that you can make that transformation. So, are you ready? Let's get started. So, I'm a former teacher, and I always start my classes by asking a question. This is where we have the student participation, so you can participate. Now, I won't see it, but I'm going to trust that you're going to raise your hands and have an answer for this question. So, here's what I want to know. How much time are you spending on social media each week? So you can raise your hand if it's 5 minutes. Is it 20 minutes? Are you spending 5 hours or 10 hours on social media each week? A lot of people are, and I can tell you that a lot of people that are spending 5 hours and 10 hours on social media, outside of playing Candy Crush on Facebook, they're still not getting a lot of results. But then you have other people who are spending 5 minutes and they're getting frustrated and overwhelmed with that small amount of time, and they're not getting results either. So I'm going to make it super easy and super simple for you to start getting results. If you watch all 3 of the videos in this series, I guarantee you, you will walk away with at least one thing you can implement in the next 30 days and start seeing better results with your social media. So, let's talk about the first reason that people really struggle and are so overwhelmed with social media. 3 things. The first thing is you don't have a system. If you're spending a lot of time on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and maybe one day you're on Twitter, maybe 1 month you're on LinkedIn, and then a couple of months later you go back to Facebook, you've got absolutely no system. So you don't know what's working, what's not working, what's broken, or how to fix it. That is a problem. The second reason most people struggle with social media is they use the wrong tools. Now, here's one of my favorite pet peeves. I will work with people and they say, I'm using Twitter, and they're really excited. And I say, well, great, show me how you use Twitter. And they go right to Twitter and they're looking at one single stream of all the tweets that they've ever gotten. And they're trying to figure out how come it's not working. Well, that's because you're using the wrong tool. You want to use a social media dashboard. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But you've got to have the right tools in place to make sure that you're going to get results with your social media. The third reason most people struggle with social media is they have really unclear goals. Now, I know you may have heard that it's really important to get Facebook likes or have a large number of Twitter followers, but if those Facebook likes and those people that follow you on Twitter and LinkedIn, if that doesn't convert into actual sales for your business, you're in trouble. It makes absolutely no sense to have 10,000 followers, but absolutely no one is buying from you. And I sense, my spidey senses are telling me that some of you are feeling that pain. And you're wondering, why isn't this working? I've got Facebook, I've got Twitter, but I'm not getting any sales. I'll tell you a funny story about that. And this happens to relate to viral videos. So how many of you remember that commercial? I think it was either Sears or JCPenney's, and their commercial was all about shipping your pants. And it sounds kind of funny, and everybody was talking about it, but people would be on the camera saying, honey, I'm going to ship my pants. Now, I did say ship, S-H-I-P, just in case some of you were wondering. It was a pretty funny commercial. It was a pretty funny video, and it was even a viral video. But you know what? It did not translate into more sales for that company. So just because something is cool, hip, or fun, or looks like it's trending, that does not mean that it's going to equal sales. But if your goals are wrong and all you're focused on is getting more likes, more tweets, more followers, but you're not focused on getting sales, you are missing the opportunity that comes from using social media the right way. So by now, I know you are waiting with much anticipation because you absolutely want to know the first way that you can go from overwhelmed to outstanding. So here's tip number one. If you figure out why you're using social media, it will be a lot easier for you to actually get results. So let's talk about some of the reasons that people use social media. Lead generation, research, connecting with influencers, finding out what your competitors are up to, finding out what your colleagues are up to, finding out what your customers are up to. All of those are great reasons to be using social media. Now notice that I have not yet said make a sale. That's one of the epic myths out there, that if you post something on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, that you can expect an immediate sale. Remember, marketing, even social media marketing, is all about relationships. So you want to use the technology and tools to find the right audience, and I help my clients create a prospect map to do that. And once you find the audience, you've got to find a way to build a relationship with them, or what I call a virtual dialogue. Just like if I met you at a networking event, I wouldn't ask you on the very first conversation, hey, buy my services. I would engage with you. I would learn more about you. We would exchange information, and I may send you an invitation to go get coffee or hot chocolate, or since we're in the Twin Cities, we might go get some beer. Well, you could have beer, I'd have soda. But we have a relationship that we'd be building, and you want to do the same thing with social media. Other things you can do with social media: learn. If there's something that you don't know, there are plenty of sites where you can find information. You're going to find that in a lot of groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. And there's another fantastic site called Quora, Quora.com. People are asking all kinds of questions there, and you can either answer the questions and position yourself as an expert and increase your visibility and credibility, or you can really tap into the mind of your audience and find out what questions are they asking. So then you take that information, go back to your site, create an awesome blog post or email marketing piece, and now you're finding a way to address your customers' needs before they even tell you that they have them. So the first tip for going from overwhelmed to outstanding was really getting clear about your why. Why are you using social media? And I gave you some examples of the ways you can use it. The second tip for going from overwhelmed to outstanding is that you really want to stop doing what everybody else is doing. So just because your best friend or your colleague is on Facebook making sales, that doesn't mean that that's where your audience is. And just because all of your friends are hanging out on Twitter, that doesn't mean that's the place for you to start looking for business connections. So you really have to find the platform that works for you. Now, you and I both know there are so many different platforms when it comes to social media. There are some names that I can't even pronounce, right? And I'm sure you feel the same way too. But I've got 4 simple questions that you can ask so that you can find out if this is a social media platform that you want to spend your time on. So you got a pen, you have a paper, you ready to write this down? Because I'm sure you're going to want to keep these notes. The first question you want to ask is, who's there? Is your audience, and I'm not just talking about any audience, but your ideal clients. I like to call them your VIPs, your very interested prospects, because that's who you want to do business with, not just any old Jack and Jill who's on Facebook, but who are those people that are hungry and looking for your services. So who's on the platform? Who's on LinkedIn? Who's on Facebook? Who's on Twitter? Who's still on MySpace? Ugh. The second question you want to ask is, where's the activity happening? So a lot of people will complain about Facebook, especially since they've changed their practice around how fan pages are used, or business pages. It used to be if you had a business page and you had thousands of people that have liked your page, they would see all of your content. It doesn't work that way anymore because Facebook wants you to actually pay for marketing. But fancy that, pay for marketing? Yes, most businesses do pay for marketing, even though a lot of social media is free. But here's another key on Facebook. A lot of conversation and a lot of connections are being made in Facebook groups. So how many groups are you a part of? And I mean really good groups where there's a moderator, where there's someone who's guiding the questions and keeping out all those spammy people who just want to post ads and videos of cute kittens and that kind of stuff. If you find a good group on Facebook or LinkedIn, I'm sure that you can build some really strong relationships and even get clients or referrals. Now Twitter, you might not think Twitter has groups, but it does. It's called a tweet chat. I'm a part of a few tweet chats. One of them is called Speaker Chat. Every Tuesday night, I get on Speaker Chat and they've got a guest, and an interviewer, and it's an actual interview hosted on Twitter. It moves kind of fast, but they give you a transcript and you can really pick up some really good tips and make some really good connections by being part of a tweet chat. The third question that you want to ask yourself when you're checking out all of these different platforms is you really want to understand what kind of activity is happening in those groups. Are people just blasting stuff out? Are they having really nasty conversations that turn into brawls? Or is it really gossipy? Listen, we've got enough of that drama going on outside of social media. We don't need to create that for our businesses. So you want to find a group where the people are supportive, where they're asking questions, where they're making referrals. They're not just spamming you with all of their ads and their events and trying to get you to buy everything. You want real engagement. Your customers want real engagement. I'm sure you want real engagement. So you've got to do your due diligence and find those platforms and groups that are allowing people and encouraging people to really communicate. I run a group on Facebook called Brilliant Business Girlfriends, and we've got over 2,500 women. Every day in that group, we have a designated question. Sometimes it's an accountability check-in. Sometimes it's post what book you're reading. And sometimes it's, okay, post your best referral for web design services. But every day there's a guided question and people are engaging and interacting with each other. That's the kind of activity you need so you can start building relationships. And you can find those groups on LinkedIn, Facebook, and through Twitter chats. And the last question that you really want to ask yourself when you're thinking about diving into social media, what's going to be the return on the investment of time that you're putting into these groups? You don't want to spend 10 hours a month on Facebook or LinkedIn and walk away just with a couple of likes or just with a couple of comments and no relationships that you've been able to take offline so that you can build strong customer relationships. Or you can use those relationships to generate leads and other referrals or even cross-promotional partners. So ask yourself these 4 simple questions whenever you're evaluating a social media platform. I don't care how popular it is. Right now, I know a lot of people are crazy about Pinterest and Instagram, and they're fun, but they may not be the best place for you to do business. If you're thinking about a platform like that, I want you to use these 4 questions that we just went through and evaluate those sites. Do your due diligence so you're not spending your hard-earned time, money, and resources working on platforms that are not going to bring you business or cash flow. So tip number 2 was all about asking those 4 key questions so that you can make sure that you're using the right social media platforms and not wasting your precious time, energy, and sanity, right? I know sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, there's so much. And that's usually because of tip number 3. To go from overwhelmed to outstanding, you've got to have a really solid marketing and social media plan. Now, here's what I want you to pay attention to. Just having a social media plan is not having a marketing strategy. Social media is one of the strategies or tactics you may use to market your message or your business, but they are not one and the same. So you've got to have a really good marketing plan, and then you've also got to have a really good way to use social media by having a strategy or a plan for that as well. I know it's a lot of planning, but that's why people hire me or other social media consultants and professionals so that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. We can do it for you. But here's something I want you to think about. I'm going to give you 7 different ways that you can take a look at your social media practices right now to see if you're actually doing what you need to do to get results. Now, these are the same 7 things I use with my clients when I work with them one-on-one. So you're getting this for free. I heard all of you clapping out there. I know you're really excited. So here's the first thing that you want to do to make sure you have a bankable social media plan. And if you didn't notice, that's a hint at my branding, Bankable Brilliant. So I want you to have a bankable social media plan, one that you can actually use to get results, get clients, and make money. So the first thing is this. You got to have a plan. It has to be a written plan, not something in your head that says, oh, whenever I remember that I have a Twitter account, I will use it. Or whenever I remember that I have a Facebook business page, I will maybe go and check it out. You want to have a plan that you follow consistently. The second thing that you really want to make sure that you have in place is clear branding. It needs to be communicated clearly exactly what you do, who you serve, and how you serve them. Listen, there's so much noise out there on the internet. The last thing you want to do is add to the noise in your potential clients' heads by not being clear about what you offer and what you do. So really be clear in your branding and how it's communicated. And again, you want that to be consistent. When people find you on Twitter, it should not look different when they find you on LinkedIn. It'll look like, things are a little bit crazy and unstable, and that's the last impression that you want to leave with potential clients. The third thing is that you want to make sure that you're using the right networks. Again, we talked about those 4 questions. Do not spend time on networks where you're not getting results. Now, here's the litmus test. You want to spend at least 90 days on a platform figuring out if it works for you or not. Why 90 days? Because you won't really know if you only try it for one week. You won't really know if you only try it for 3 weeks. You really want to give it enough time so you can track what's working and what's not working and really take a look at metrics or results. Now, I know the word metric, it might remind you of statistics. And if you're anything like me, when you were in college, you hated statistics. I am not a numbers person, but listen. If you're investing all this time and all this money and all of this energy in really building a business and a solid presence online, you want to be able to track what's working and what's not working. It's just common sense. So the next thing you want to make sure that you have so that your social media plan is a bankable one, you have to have quality content. It is so key. Again, there's a lot of noise out there. There are a lot of people saying, I'm an expert, I'm a guru, I am the world's best marketer online. And those are nice things to say, but you need to have content to actually back it up. If people come to your site or if they look at your social media streams and all they see are pictures of cute kittens, they might be amused, but they will not pay you. And you're in business, so you don't want them just to be amused. You want them to actually buy your services and your products. The next thing you really want to make sure that you're doing is engaging with your audience. It is not enough to just post a picture or post a quote. Now, you might get likes, but again, likes don't always translate into sales, especially if you're not engaging with your audience. Listen, good companies engage. They understand the value of that virtual dialogue, and they understand the value of really reaching out to their key VIPs. One of the ways that I see a lot of consumers engage with their products and services that they use is when they have a complaint. Have you ever had a complaint with a company and you take to Twitter or Facebook? I do it all the time. Why? Because I know they're watching their feeds. I know they're watching to see what people outside are saying about their business and company. So if I have a problem, I'm going to put it on Twitter. And 9 times out of 10, I get a response that's just like that. Now, that's one way of engaging with your audience, but listen, why not flip that around? Why not make that engagement positive? Did you just land a really great deal with a client? Did you just really do some great work for them and they were so excited? Give them a shout out on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. They love to see their stuff promoted, and you're helping them reach more people. So that's just one way to engage and make it fun, not just for you, but also give some value to your audience. The next thing you really want to make sure of if you want a bankable social media plan is that you've got to use the right tools. Use a social media dashboard. I talked about this in video 1, right? If you're just using Twitter, for example, and all you see is that long stream, you get what I'm saying, right? You can use a social media dashboard like Hootsuite. And I love Hootsuite because I get to watch 4 or 5 different streams and I can find out who I want to talk to. I can find out and follow the influencers in my industry, and I can even search for certain keywords or hashtags so that I don't have to look through every single tweet that comes on my stream. It's a godsend. The other great thing about a social media dashboard like Hootsuite or Buffer is that you can actually program your tweets to go out. Now, I know people will say everything has to be live, but I'm here to tell you that's simply not true. There's a lot of ways to automate what you're doing so that you're not spending 5 or 10 hours a day or a week on social media. And using the right tools like a social media dashboard is just one of those ways. The last thing is that you got to have the right people in place. Now, listen, I know that it's really cool when you can invite your college-age son or your college-age daughter or nephew or cousin to come and work for you in your company because they get social media. They're youngsters. Listen, they might know how to use social media to share pictures from, a Jay-Z concert or from an Imagine Dragons concert, but listen, they don't know how to use social media for business. So if you're banking on them simply because they're more familiar with the tool, you might be making a mistake. See, it's not just about knowing how to use it, it's knowing why you're using it, when to use it, and when not to use it. And so you've really got to make sure that whoever you hire, whether it's a virtual assistant, a social media consultant, or even if it's just your assistant or receptionist that sits at the front of your desk, you've got to make sure that that person really understands what you're trying to accomplish with social media. So those are those 7 things on the checklist that I really want you to pay attention to when you want to have a bankable social media plan. Now listen, if you just want to go out there and spend time on social media and maybe get some sales, maybe get some likes, don't follow any of the things I've said in any of these videos. But if you want real results, I've given you 4 questions to ask. I've given you 7 ways to find out if your social media plan is working. And then I've also given you those 3 things that people are doing wrong, and that's costing them a lot of time and money. So you've got the knowledge. Now it's time for you to actually take action. So that's my last tip for going from overwhelmed to outstanding when it comes to social media. Take action. You'll be in that top 20%. You've heard of that 80-20 rule where 80% of the people never get results because they don't take action. I want you to be in that top 20%. Those 20% of people that take action and get results because you simply decided to do something different. This has absolutely been a blast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this video series, from overwhelmed to outstanding when using social media to get more visibility, credibility, and of course to get more clients. So here's what your next step is. I want to know what your takeaways are. I want you to tell me what are the next steps you're going to take to go from overwhelmed to outstanding. If you send me your email, I'm going to send you my social networking checklist, the same one I use with my private clients. But before I give you my email address, I've got to say a huge thank you to Office Centers. I'm so excited and honored to be part of the PowerLunch learning series. So thank you to Lee, and thank you to Lori and the whole Office Centers team, and thank you again for listening. To find me, you can Google Ty Goodwin, or you can go to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter and look for Ty Goodwin. You can even do the same thing on Google Plus and YouTube. How's that for branding? Now here's my email address. You can send an email to ty@tygoodwin.com. And when you send me an email with your takeaways, what's the next step you're going to do to go from overwhelmed to outstanding, I promise I will send you my social networking checklist. If you enjoyed this training video and you'd like me to come and train your organization, you can send me an email to ty@tygoodwin as well. So thanks so much for your time and attention. And as always, I want you to live on purpose, work your passion, practice prosperity, and of course, stay brilliant and bankable.